Aztec mythology is an echo of their dark and bloody sacrifices. In this mythological world, the most macabre creatures lurk in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to unleash their terror on mortals. From the watery depths to the darkest corners of the human psyche, each deity and creature represents a palpable threat to mortal existence. To enter this realm is to open the door to an abyss of despair and fear, where light can barely penetrate. Number 1. Ahuizotl. This mythical being is a kind of aquatic monster with the body of a dog, skin with scales, and hands on the tip of its tail and on its legs. This creature had the ability to manipulate objects and to catch its prey, dragging them into the cold, dark depths of the water. Its large, glowing eyes could illuminate the deepest darkness. The Ahuizotl was not a simple aquatic predator. It was a master of deception. It used its ability to imitate sounds, such as a baby's cry or a woman's wail, to lure its victims. People, moved by a desire to help, would approach the water only to be caught and dragged to the bottom, where they met a tragic end in the creature's clutches. Dying by drowning at the hands of this creature was considered an act loaded with symbolism related to rituals and beliefs about the afterlife. Before continuing with the video, do you know the advantages of using a VPN? Nah, just kidding. I'm not gonna sell you anything, at least not in this video. But I do want to take this opportunity to apologize to all Mexicans and lovers of this mythology for my pronunciation. I hope you understand that I try to do it with the utmost respect. Number 2. Cipactli. In an epic story from Aztec mythology, chaos, creation, and a creature of monstrous proportions called Cipactli play a pivotal role in the origin of the world. Cipactli is a being that seems to have been designed in a nightmare. Part alligator, part fish, and part frog. This beast is anything but small. We're talking about a giant whose presence dominates the waters, with a thick, spiny skin that defies any weapon, and a mouth so big it could swallow you in a single bite. This creature is not exactly the kind of monster you'd want to encounter on your next fishing trip. Cipactli is not your typical hungry monster. Its hunger is insatiable, and it doesn't discriminate in its diet. If you get too close, well, let's just say you could end up being its next meal. This chaotic being spends its days in the waters, stalking any prey brave or foolish enough to approach it. What can you do against a monster of such magnitude? If you're a mortal, the short answer is not much. In Aztec mythology, it took divine intervention to deal with Cipactli. The gods, Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca, had to call upon their cunning and divine power to trick, capture, and finally dismember this monster. And it was no easy task, but their epic struggle was not in vain. From the remains of Cipactli, they created the earth and the heavens, shaping the material world as we know it. Number 3. Tzitzimitl. The Tzitzimitl, celestial beings who are anything but angelic. They are creatures that resemble skeletons or monsters with a feminine touch, adorned with armor made of bones and decorated with celestial symbols. They are beings that descend to Earth during solar eclipses and critical cosmic moments, not to bring us gifts, but to devour humans and cause the end of the world. The Tzitzimitl are chaos and destruction. They are not simply old wives' tales to frighten children. They represent the destructive forces of the universe and the primordial fear of what lurks in the darkness, waiting for its moment to fall upon us. Their appearance is as fearsome as their purpose: claws, sharp fangs, and bodies that could belong to any mortal's worst nightmares. Tzitzimitl have the power to darken the sun, causing eclipses to attack or intimidate mortals. Imagine being in broad daylight and suddenly darkness looms over you, knowing that these monsters could be behind it. Moreover, they bring disease and calamity, unleashing pestilence and suffering in their wake. Their presence is a bad omen, especially in times of instability. Facing a Tzitzimitl is no easy task. In fact, there are no stories of brave Aztec warriors defeating them in battle. These beings are more like forces of nature, entities beyond human understanding. Protection against them came in the form of rituals and ceremonies, sacrifices and offerings to appease these beings and maintain order. Number 4. Shanek. Small but powerful spirits of nature. They are beings that, at first glance, might appear to be children or playful sprites. But don't be fooled by their appearance. These guardians of nature are much more than they appear. With small bodies adorned with forest elements and the faces of wise elders, they have the power to become invisible or transform, moving through the trees undetected. The Shanekes are quintessential protectors of all things natural. They are playful creatures, yes, but with a mischievous and even malicious side to those they see as a threat to their home. Stories of how they can lead you to lose yourself in their world, or worse, take your soul, are common in the lore that tells of them. Among their most impressive abilities is that of disorienting travelers, causing them to lose their way, communicating with flora and fauna, and knowing nature's darkest secrets. But what do these beings fear? Mainly the destruction of their environment. Human encroachment and damage to their natural sanctuaries pose a direct threat to their existence. Now, if you ever encounter a Shaneke, do not seek to defeat it. These creatures are not enemies. Offering them respect and care for their environment is key. In some stories, it is said that leaving offerings or performing rituals can appease them, or even help you recover someone who has been taken by them. Number 5. Nahual. Imagine for a moment that you are walking along a path in the heart of a forest. Suddenly, a fox crosses your path, stares at you, and, in the blink of an eye, where there was once a fox, there is now a man standing in front of you. It is not a magic trick. It is the reality of living with a Nahual. A Nahual is not limited to being simply a man or an animal. It is a being that transcends physical form, taking on the appearance of different creatures, from jaguars to eagles, all depending on your spiritual connection to the animal. In their human form, you could walk past one in the street without noticing, for they know how to blend in with us. Nahual are wise guardians. Their existence straddles the fine line between our world and the spirit world, being protectors of nature. But don't trust them, because not all of them have benevolent intentions. Some may seek revenge or cause chaos using their abilities. And speaking of abilities, transforming is just the tip of the iceberg. A Nahual can immerse himself in the essence of his animal forms, gaining their appearance and abilities. It's like having the sight of an eagle or the strength of a bear. In addition, their knowledge of healing, prophecy, and travel between worlds puts them on a different level of existence. Number 6. Ayauhteotl. The Ayauhteotl are not creatures. They are minor deities in Aztec mythology. But since they were left out of the gods video, I wanted to bring them in for this top, and for good reason. These deities are associated with excess and hedonistic pleasures, representing danger and the consequences of excess in food, drink, gambling, and other earthly pleasures. Imagine this: you are at a party with everything you could possibly want at your fingertips. Delicious food, endless drinking, games, fun, and in the middle of that party, there are some strange characters looking at you from around the corner. They are not late guests. They are the Ayauhteotl, waiting to see how far you are willing to go. These deities are not exactly the most athletic or elegant in the Aztec pantheon. In fact, they are said to have bloated or deformed bodies, as if they themselves have fallen into the excesses they now represent. And while they are not going to win any beauty contests, their appearance is a reminder of what awaits those who don't know when to stop. Ahuizotl are like those friends who encourage you to do silly things, but on a divine level. They have the power to push you into behaviors you know you don't want, like spending too much on things you don't need, drinking too much, or gambling what you don't have. And once you fall under their influence, you are likely to find yourself in a world of trouble, surrounded by bad luck and misery. Now, how do you defeat this being? It's not with swords and magic spells. It's with something much duller: restraint and self-discipline. Confronting them means being able to say enough is enough, and recognizing that the pleasures of life are there to be enjoyed, but with head. Number 7. Malinalxochitl. This is a lesser-known figure in Aztec mythology, associated with witchcraft and black magic. According to accounts, she was a powerful sorceress and the sister of Tzitzimitl, the god of the sun and war. Legend has it that during the migration of the Mexica Aztecs towards what was to become the city of Tenochtitlan, Malinalxochitl was abandoned by her tribe because of her dark practices. It is said that she was a woman who radiated beauty and a presence that attracted and repelled you at the same time. Her style was pure spell and magic, adorned with all kinds of amulets, bones, and feathers of nocturnal birds, as if each piece of her attire told a dark story. She was known for her independent character and strong will, as well as for her deep knowledge of the dark arts. She was not only a practitioner of sorcery, but also a leader among those who followed the path of magic. She possessed a great knowledge of spells, potions, and incantations, which gave her great power. It was said that she could conjure visions, communicate with spirits, and manipulate the will of mortals. In addition, she had the power to transform herself and summon creatures and entities from the underworld to act at her will. Although she was left behind, she was not one to give up easily. She settled in her own territory, Malinalco, where she became a legend, the sorceress they both respected and feared. Number 8. Tzitzimitl. The Tzitzimitl are giants in Aztec mythology, considered to be the first inhabitants of the earth. According to the myths, these beings were created by the gods in one of the ages or suns before the present fifth sun, under which, according to the Aztecs, we now live. The Tzitzimitl played an important role in the construction of great monuments and are credited with building the city of Teotihuacan, one of the most important cities in Mesoamerica. They were the first architects and builders, colossal beings that walked the earth long before you and I could even dream of existing. These giants were not only enormous in size, but also in their capabilities, able to lift stones that today, thousands of years later, we still look at in awe and wonder. How did they do it? The Tzitzimitl are an essential part of the stories the Aztecs told about their own origins and how the world they lived in was built. They are beings so tall that mountains seemed like small hills to them, with hands so strong that they could sculpt the earth as if it were clay. And while they had this incredible power to build, they were not without conflict. They had their struggles and challenges, both with each other and with the gods. And this is where the story gets interesting, because despite their strength, they were not invincible. It is said that their disappearance marked the end of one era and the beginning of another, leaving behind monuments and cities as mute witnesses to their existence. Their disappearance was part of the natural cycle, a necessary change for the world as we know it to exist. Number 9. Cihuateteo. The Cihuateteo represent women who died in childbirth, but in the Aztec worldview, dying in childbirth was no ordinary tragedy. It was, in fact, an act of bravery, comparable to falling in battle. For the Aztecs, the act of giving birth was a battle in itself, a heroic struggle to bring new life into the world. These brave women, when they died, did not follow the standard path to the afterlife. Instead, they rose to a special celestial plane, accompanying the sun on its diurnal journey across the sky. But when night fell, the story took a dark turn. They were transformed into the Cihuateteo, spirits who descended to earth to participate in rituals and ceremonies, thus connecting the world of the living with the realm of the dead. What made the Cihuateteo particularly distinctive were their depictions in Aztec art. Claws instead of hands and feet, unhinged faces and clothing that marked their divine status. Although they were venerated, there was also a deep fear of them. They were believed to directly influence earthly affairs, especially fertility and agriculture. They could also be vengeful creatures, abducting children or causing disease if their rituals or sacred places were not respected. Number 10. Xiuhcoatl. Xiuhcoatl, the fire serpent or fire turquoise, is a mythological creature and a potent symbol of strength, destruction, and purification. It is a serpent that not only slithers stealthily, but burns in flames, illuminating everything in its path with a fire that symbolizes both destruction and rebirth. This fiery beast is so connected to the god of the sun and war, Xiuhcoatl, that it is basically his personal weapon. Yes, the sun has his own weapon, and it is a fiery serpent. With Xiuhcoatl in hand, Xiuhcoatl crushes his enemies and represents the power of the sun to overcome the forces of darkness and keep the cycle of life moving. But the fire serpent is not only about destruction, It is also a key symbol of the cycles of time and renewal. It is linked to Aztec calendars, reminding us that the fire emanating from this creature is destructive, yes, but also essential to the death and rebirth that keeps the wheel of life turning. On the battlefield, it was the role model for Aztec warriors, especially those of the elite, such as the eagles and jaguars. He inspired them to be brave, practically in. When it came to rituals, Xiuhcoatl also had his moment. In the new fire ceremony, which was like the Aztec reset every 52 years, imagine that they put out all the fires in the empire, and the new fire, the beginning of a whole new cycle, is lit from the chest of a human sacrifice. Xiuhcoatl, not just a serpent of fire, but a guardian of life, a symbol of change, renewal, and the scorching power of the sun.